Now we noticed something in this old book by Dr. York. It's called Leviathan, Leviathan 666. Right? Some of y'all might recall it from a while ago. Leviathan 666 by Dr. York and by the Islamic Hebrews. Right? So I was checking this out, and when I caught wind of Geraldo Rivera, Fox News Viagra, trying to shift the blame of the murder of a 17-year-old unarmed African-American male, a black male named Trayvon Martin, and blame it on the hoodie, or the so-called style of dress, as though that provoked a nutty, violent, aggressive, and murderous George Zimmerman. I began to say, wait, Geraldo Rivera, I know you think he's Hispanic, right? But check this out for a moment. Okay, now this particular page, it talks about how the three major television networks were founded by the pale European Jews, Jebusites of Canaan, David Sarnoff, NBC, National Broadcasting Corporation, Haley CBS, Community Broadcast System, and Goldenson, ABC, American Broadcast Corporation. Now, the Gentiles, speaking of regular like white folks, and they consider black people and everybody else to be Gentiles, who is not so-called Jews, they occupy the front desk positions, but the pale or European Jews, or the crypto Jews, they control the television industry. Now, this is not new to most folks, though there's a lot of debate about it, saying, trying to dismiss the fact of the matter, but basically it's fact. Now, the pale Jews, that make up 59% of the executive positions and only 3% of the working force. Now, that might have changed a little bit, the percentage, but basically the percentage, the margin of the percentage basically still remains the same. Now, in the motion picture industry, all picture companies were founded and controlled by the so-called pale or European Jews, with the exception of United Artists Industries. Now, the largest entertainment monopoly, MCA, dominates entertainment and is also controlled by these same Jebusites of Canaan, or the so-called pale Jews. Now, we notice this is interesting down here where it says, for those who do not know, there are Jews disguising themselves other than Jews who in the entertainment world, For example, the well-known broadcaster, and there's that name, Geraldo Rivera, is in reality a Jew or a Jebusite. This we saw was interesting. Recently, his Jewish identity was revealed to the public in a popular national magazine. He had a six-pointed star tattooed on his left hand when he was a child, and is now being denied the right to be buried in a Jewish cemetery ground. Now, according to the Jewish faith, tattoos are verboten or forbidden. Now, here's the actual picture. Here's the actual page right here, right? And here's the picture, and you can see this is Geraldo Rivera, right? He's holding the mic, and then there's a close-up right there that shows, you can see it right there. Yet, he did not think of this. He didn't think of this when he passed himself off as an Hispanic. Most people probably view Geraldo Rivera as some sort of Hispanic, speak about blacks and Latinos, so forth and so on. Now, Dr. York says, I've been telling you he was a Jew for years. And now we can see in this incident, this murder and this crime, we call this a crime of the new millennium, what happened to Trayvon Martin, the fact that his killer, his murderer, has not even been arrested, is claiming some stand your ground, and even the legislators who passed that particular law says it doesn't apply in a kind of a hunting. It was a hunting expedition. That boy was hunted down, was followed, and like a wild animal. You understand, and was killed and was murdered. Now, Geraldo Rivera is his stage name. That's his stage name, like an actor. His real name is actually Jerry Rivers. Most people don't really know that Geraldo Rivera's, his real name is Jerry Rivers because he is a Jew, but he passes himself off as a Hispanic. Now, just think about it for a moment. This George Zimmerman, what is his ethnic makeup, his background? Now, we already know this guy is nutty. I'm speaking about Zimmerman, but we already know this guy also is nutty right here. Speaking about Geraldo, Fox News, Viagra, Rivera, he's nutty too. Now, this guy right here, is just amongst many other so-called famous Jews, in the entertainment industry who are hiding behind, certain stage names. And York further gives a couple of other names, Joan Rivers, Edward G. Robinson, Soupy Sales, Harry Houdini, Kirk Douglas. Can't even say Kirk Douglas's name. Wow. Doris Day. Yeah, Doris Day, Tony Curtis. And of course there are, there are many, many others. Now this is going into some other there's some more, just to check out some other names that you might know, that you might already suspect that they are European Jews. Even Rock Hudson. Pope John Paul also was a Jew, and you have other ones down here. Some of them some you might not know, but I think the most surprising one really is this Geraldo Rivera. So his seeking to shift the blame away from the culprit, the perp, the perpetrator of the crime, who also happens to be somewhat a Jew. Speaking of George Zimmerman, to the hoodie is very, very interesting. It seems as though this is ethnic based. Not looking at the merits of the case. The merits of the case, George Zimmerman is guilty. He should be arrested and he should be tried. So when you hear Geraldo Rivera speaking, especially on a controversial issue like this, and seeking to shift the blame to something like one's clothing, one's clothing or one's attire. Imagine telling, all these other people seeking to get their rights, whether it's the feminists, the women, or homosexuals, or Mexicans, or whatever like that, that you should not, do things that are in accordance with your beliefs, inclinations, your dress, your style. Imagine that. Imagine how that would fly. That wouldn't fly. That would not fly at all. And for him to even say that some so-called black mothers might agree with him, well, of course, they probably don't know the half of how to make a slave, let's make a slave, and how they are victims of trauma-based mind control, PTSD, post-traumatic slave disorder. But I just wanted to let you kind of know what's really behind this particular individual. So when you see things like this, how Geraldo Rivera, he blames the hoodie, how he blames the hoodie for Trayvon Martin's death. Really, it should be Trayvon Martin's murder. Hopefully you can understand what's behind, his defense, his covert defense, his instinctual defense of George Zimmerman, a paranoid, delusional, schizophrenic, murderous racist. All right? So this is just half of the story that you're not going to hear, on Fox and Friends. All right, brothers and sisters, Shalom, Rastafari.